Hey there, Chris Hauser here, coming to you from Yokohama, where we just finished the 2024 ICRA conference, which is the biggest robotics conference in the world. And I'm here to tell you a little robotics fable about where we are as a community right now. So a long time ago, maybe not too long ago, there were a bunch of roboticists living in primitive tribal communities, and we were building little huts and small temples and admiring our handiwork about how tall we were building our little huts and little structures. Then all of a sudden a new tribe came along. These are the end-to-end learning folks who came with seeds and water and fertilizer, data, and they grew these seeds into tall trees. And we started looking at these trees and said, wow, how beautiful they are, how tall they are. They're dwarfing the skyline of our huts and little temples. People came from all around to admire these robot YouTube videos, and princes came along with bags of gold saying, build more of these, make more of these trees, fertilize them with more food and water, and grow them ever bigger and bigger. Now, as the robotics engineers, we come and scratch our heads and say, oh, well, these trees are very beautiful and very tall, but how do we use them? How do we live in them? And then the tree planters say, well, you can build hammocks or tree houses up in these trees, and you can go ahead and live there. And you say, oh, well, that sounds very nice. I'll be very tall. I'll be able to see from very far away. And that's, at first glance, sounds pretty good. But then you start thinking, and you say, well, what's going to happen if I live in a tree house? Well, if the tree breaks, that's going to be a problem. How do I ensure that this is going to be stable? How do I build my tree house or my neighbor's tree house when they're working in different trees? And, well, how do you connect the plumbing? So you realize that this isn't actually that usable. This approach is going to have some serious problems. And that's kind of where we are as a field now. Those of us who are traditional engineers see some great promise, but also some worry about these great trees that have been planted. And so our field is in existential crisis. How do we survive as engineers when there's so much attention and investment being put into this particular way of doing things, where we know that, or highly suspect, that the results are not going to be as usable as we would like them to be. So what's the solution? Well, what we need to do is work together and build engineered solutions. We need to be able to engineer buildings. We know what to design. We have ideas about how to make things usable, livable. We use the materials and tools that are available to us to engineer these buildings. We need plans, but we also need these raw materials. And what are good materials? Well, learning, right? These trees provide the lumber for a lot of the things that we could be building with engineered systems. So we absolutely shouldn't overlook learning, but we should learn how to use it. And when you use lumber, you have to cut it, you have to grow the right trees, first of all. You need to cure it, you need to shape it in ways, and also design the fasteners that are going to be putting these timbers together. But with that, you can start to build a foundation, build supports, build scaffolding, and then construct buildings that are going to have some kind of designed purpose. And I think that's really what we need to do. As a community, we need to come together and start architecting these systems that do the things we want them to do. And what's stopping us? Well, really, it's this tribal culture that we've had in the past. We don't like to work together. We don't like to have the need of our products to be used by others. And I think that's a big problem. That needs to change. Is it impossible to change? Well, no, there's other fields that have been successful at this. Physics, astronomy, civil engineering, aerospace, they all work on teams of dozens, hundreds, or thousands of people. So it can be done. The big thing that needs to change is our culture. I think we need to change that culture in order to survive. But if we do change that culture, we can be extremely successful and build these tall engineered buildings for a purpose that we know that are reliable and that we know will be usable by the people who end up using them. So what I say is, let's come together and let's start building these buildings. Thank you.